part 15 of the Forster Andrews 1865 organ installation and restoration. So we left this, we'd been working on the pedal board, which is now towards being installed. We showed the left hand side, which is called the bass side on an organ. We showed that we'd put in an electric primary to the pneumatics. That was being put on in the 1920s. And I decided that the touch box, which is the thing that makes the notes play from the pedal board, was of such a Heath Robinson design, even after I spent money modifying it, that it would fail in with the note on. I just knew we were going to end up with notes sticking, and gone are the days when you had a 12-year-old apprentice who could crawl under the bellows to fix it. So today we've finished making and installing. Obviously it's not secured in position because it's still in testing. A similar one on the right. Now you notice the tubing on that is longer to go to the pedal chest, and that's because your composition pedal and the swell pedal run through that. And although we could have put it higher, it would have meant adjustments and maintenance of those items would have been impeded. So done the sensible thing. So that's that. I'll just move the camera around. I think we'll go handheld. So on the base end, you can see we've got all the pedal pipes in and tuned, and we're ready for the first panel. There's two panels at the top, there's two panels at the bottom. You've got the one towards the blower there on the left, and then you've got the one here on the right. And I'm not done with wind leaks until we're at the end of the job. This blower is horrendously inadequate. If you remember, we left the blower behind, which was with this organ. It was of a type I don't even like, and it was in the basement, and we'd run out of time. And I have to think to myself, am I hiring a van and going 50 miles with two men and spending another day, or am I buying another one? And it was the latter. But the one we bought, the motor's no good on it, and I'll get that rebuilt. That's not a problem. It's not an expensive way out. But just to get us working, and to be honest, I only thought we'd have one manual working. That discus blower in that little box there is only an 1/8 horsepower one, which is hopelessly inadequate. It came off of one manual organ, which got scrapped sadly. So we know it's inadequate. I pulled the pedal stop out. There's so many wind leaks, even though they're all small, but the bellows just drops. So there's no way you could play the organ except with something like one stop and the pedal. So we know we've got to address that. We may be addressing that in the future because there may not be the funds to go and change the blower or repair the other one at this stage. But that doesn't matter as long as the thing works, as long as the organ works when we are ready financially. So let's go over to the side. So on the other side, we've got to address the bad painting there on my part, which needs touching up. We've got the trace rod runs down from the top of the swell shutters. We've wedged the swell shutters in the open position because we don't want the swell box shutter will have a different temperature inside the swell box than we would on the outside, and then you've got tuning anomalies. It's bad enough as the temperature changes anyway. So at the moment we've got those 3 pipes in 4 pipes there, and we've got the biggest pipe in. This one here is open diapason on the manual. This is pedal board on C#. So we've only got one big pipe in. The rest are waiting to go in. And then we've got a small chest sits here, which is the extra 5 notes, which went on in 1920. Did I say that right? 1920. So that's our final thing to do. That chest is there, and it's being electrified right now, putting a primary electric action on. Radio club meeting in here tomorrow. On that chest is my whisper transmitter. You see there's some radio going on in here. I've had the United States on that at 200 milliwatts. So we're putting the last 5 magnets, and it's been so easy to do this. Let's just zoom in and then I can tell you as we go. So I've cut those holes in for the magnets by hand, of course. If we were doing 61 notes on a keyboard, then I'd get out a multi-seam machine and we'd, set up jigs and everything would be hunky-dory. But when you've got 5 to do, I just drill 2 holes and filed in between, to take the magnets. Now those bottom round holes are where the pneumatic lead tubing, that stuff that's kicking around on the floor, when we've got scrap lead like that, which is what that's going to end up as, we take it to the pipe works when we next take some organ pipes in and let them melt it down so that it gets used back on organs. Give it them. So the holes, the round holes, where the lead tubes went in to activate, I've just neatly fit what are called the chest magnets. Now they've got the caps off. And that's how I could line up the holes. So eventually, yeah, that's the right way around. It's like that. I've shown you these before. We've had to do no drilling of windways like we did with the chest we made, because this just so easily converts to electric action. Subject to the chest working, of course. I don't like the type of action it uses it's a 1920 little chest. I would have done it direct electric, but it's going to stay electro-pneumatic. And we're just mounting these final magnets. I wanted to show you that. The only snag I had was that this one, the first one, if that's in shot, I don't know if it is. I'll just move the viewfinder around. So this one, you see the darkness around that hole, and you'll see the darkness around that hole. We've actually had to fill with cobbler's wax. Heel ball, isn't it, in the organ tray? And because when this had been made, there wasn't as much care as was needed for this originally, and so you got some splintering of the wood. I think they probably drilled it from the other side instead of from the face side. So what I've done is some of this cut off plastic reinforced tubing we've been using, I've stuck it in the hole to use that as a kind of mould, and then we've been able to run the heel ball around and then I've sanded it back down, because those splinters would have caused there to be an air loss in that splinter to the outside atmosphere, and of course the note would have played all the time. So I spotted that before it happened. So we're just going to fit the last 2 magnets. And the other thing we're doing, take the camcorder around. We are coming to the end of this job, we're now on the final things. We're going to just be left with, if I just turn around to the console, we've got none of these draw stop heads are glued in, and we've got the inserts, we've had brand new engraved inserts, just exactly identical. We won't throw them away, they'll go in a box under the bellows, because these are real ivory. And because I've had to have them redone, because if you remember on the grate on the right hand jamb, that top stop says Dulciana, and of course it should say 15th too, and we've had that brand new 15th manufactured just like it should have been. And again, that was a 1920 alteration, which was ridiculous. It's already got a string on the grate. Why would you want another one, except that it's a quieter one? You've got, although you haven't got a string on the swell, you've got the Geigen principle. You can shut the box. You can play the lead board on an octave higher, and then you've got a soft flute. So I don't get that, but there you are. Never mind. I've addressed the problem. So things like this, we can have all the chairs in here. We can have the room in use, and I can sit at the console with the glue and sticking all that together and whatever I have to do. We've got the panels to paint. There's a panel which is finished there. I don't know whether it's the left-hand one or the right-hand one. And the fact it isn't labelled, I would tend to think it's going to be the right-hand one. So, because it was right up to a wall in the previous installation, and so nobody would have ever taken that out since 1920. So I think the other panel, the other identical one, will probably be the left-hand one, but we'll find out. I don't want to put them in the wrong order. They might fit, but then they might not. As I've shown before, this is a balanced swell pedal. It wasn't manufactured with a balanced swell pedal. I've also shown that I've put that oak facing on it. It was just linoleum before, which I think is dreadful. You've got an expensive instrument. You know, what's this new? 150, 170,000 pounds. And you put lino on that. It's just beggars belief what people did in 1920. They were the good old days though. The original swell pedal was in that corner, and you may just be able to see it's been filled in. If I get a torch, you'll see it's been nicely filled in, and I've repolished and sanded on that right hand jamb that's at the bottom there. There's a slot where the original swell pedal was, which of course was a ratchet swell pedal, and so it was either open or closed. Now I haven't got a problem with those, but I haven't reversed it because it is convenient having a balanced swell pedal. That said, there's only one church out of the 7 I play at that has a balanced swell pedal. All the other 2 manual organs have got ratchet swell pedals. So there you are. It doesn't matter to me, but it does to some people. But I thought, well, that's a modification that can stay. I wouldn't say it's ideally placed. I wouldn't say it's an ideal height, but it's probably more convenient than the ratchet swell pedal. And the problem is that the swell shutters are wanting to close on their own because the balance is wrong. So when you've got horizontal shutters like this, you've got a balance problem always, haven't you? Because they're going to either want to open or want to close. Now I'm going to just take the camcorder next door and we'll just look at the Konica. So when we look at the Konica next door, which is 1877, the swell shutters are horizontal. It's a ratchet swell pedal. That's fine. And it has to be balanced or sprung to make it shut. But if someone came along and changed that to balanced, which would be a silly thing to do because it's all original tracker and everything as it should be, no alterations whatsoever, then that will balance far more easily than one with horizontal shutters. Let's look at the organ at my side. We've got this one, which is 1888 if I remember rightly, 1890. It's a Lincoln make, not Cousins. It just eludes me at the moment. And it's got horizontal shutters. I can't remember whether this is balanced or whether it is. I just can't remember. I can't remember whether it's balanced or whether it's a ratchet pedal. It's a long time since we were working on this one. So it got to this stage and then we had other jobs which were on site. So back in here, and this is our final thing we've got to make, and then I can put all these tables away. We've gone in some strange menu. I can put all these tables away, which I'd like to do in the next 2 days. Right, this is what we've got. This is the remains, so you can't see the top of it, of a hand pump. What we're going to call it, the stand of the hand pump. So the hand pump handle slots in there and up and down movement. Still got a big metal pin, clearly made. It's a blacksmith shop in there. I think it probably came off the Konica. It's come off one of the other organs we have in store here. It didn't come with this organ. Didn't come with this Forster Andrews. There was no hand pump equipment left on this. When we bought it, it all come off in 1920 and presumably they'd gone on to a gas engine or water pump or whatever they did with it before they put the electric one on in the 50s. So what I've done, I'm repurposing this to turn it into a counterbalance. So when I come to look at the bottom piece of timber, these all want cleaning up, and the woodworm has been treated in the past and it's not active. You'll see that it's actually got a jammed in tenon, so mortise and tenon in there. So it's already been repurposed from something else when that went on in 1877, which is what I think it was. So this was that long, and I've cut it. We're discarding that piece. That's got a half lap joint. So we've done an identical half lap joint there. So what's going to happen is I'll screw that together. This will then be screwed to the top of the swell box. And then we've got a long arm. Which is here, which is been at one time a hand pump. It's not had its handle. I can't even see where the handle was, but I'm presuming it was a hand pump. It must have been. Anyway, the actual handle bit which you pumped isn't there. And that's going to go back. These haven't come off the same job. So we're going to mount this at such a point that we get exactly the right leverage with the sheer weight of this piece of pitch pine. And let me tell you, it weighs about 35 pounds, 40 pounds in weight. So we probably have the fulcrum right near. Then one end of this is going to connect to that trace rod, and it's going to provide an upward force. And I'm going to make sure that wherever we put that fulcrum is exactly the right force so that box balances. It probably doesn't need that much, but we'll work out what we need and it will be done. And that is how it should be done. If you've got the room, you put a counterbalance on top of the swell box or in a convenient position like that. And normally it would not be as hefty as that, and you'd probably use weights like bellows weights or lead weights or something kind of weights to produce that weight you need for that upward force. We're going to pull on that trace rod because the mechanism is pulling the opposite way. Now, how did they achieve it before? How did they get a bit of a balance? Well, there was bits of scrap metal, there was a bit of a bed, there was a bit of on various swell shutters so that it got a balance. What a Mickey Mouse way of doing it. So we're doing a proper counterbalance and it's going to work properly. And there was no reason to do it in a Mickey Mouse way. In the previous installation, there was plenty of room on top of the swell box. It's not like it was on the balcony. Yes, it was in its first installation, but this swell pedal went on in 1920, and so we can put it in a proper counterbalance. And I say there's just no excuse for how it was done last time. So there we are. That's so far. So hopefully next time we see the video, all we'll have left to do is to put the stickers in for the coupler. So if we look down there, I'll highlight it with the torch. We've currently got 2 stickers in, bottom CNC sheets, I can't speak, shaken not stirred. We've got the bottom 2 stickers in there, which are, when you press the notes, the pedal couplers activate. I didn't dare put any in because we may need to adjust those reed switch magnets at the back of the pedal board. Once those are in, I won't be able to get to them without taking the stickers out. And I knew what was going to happen. And then, as I say, it's just tidying things up, making the composition pedals work. I don't know where one of the composition pedals is. So if you look to the left of the swell pedal, there is the metal pedal. Let's move the camera over. The metal pedal there, painted black, is one of the 2 composition pedals for the grate. On the other side there is another one, but I don't know where the pedal is. I know it's come with the organ, but it isn't with me in this building at the moment. So we'll look at the storage facility and see what happens. I'd hate to have to get a blacksmith to make another one, but it has come with the organ. I've seen it, and I've seen it in the last 2 years. So I can't really set the combination pedals until such time. I don't know what we're going to do, to be honest. I've been playing hymns on this, as you've probably noticed on my hymn channel. And what are we actually going to do? Because all I'm needing to do, to be honest, is add the principal and 15th I've probably been playing on stop diapason and 4-foot flute, and I'm wanting to add principal and 15th, so that's probably the only difference I want for it to go with those two stops. I know it sounds silly, but on the other hand, you know, you go to an organ with composition pedals like this and your first one is like just stop diapason, and you think, well, why would you do that? Because with one knob you can pull the damn thing out. It's when you've got a combination, you know, there's 7 knobs controlling 6 ranks there. Remember, the stop diapason bass is shared between the bell gamba and the stop diapason, where you've got a separate bass. The Konica in the other room does that automatically, but on this organ it's not done automatically. So you have the stop bass separate. So you need to be able to control them. I accept, but what you don't want is a quiet combo pedal that just puts one on. So I think we need something a bit more sensible. And it's me who's going to be playing this, and I think we're going to just be adding the principal and 15th on the second one, and the first one will be stuff without. So I'm not going to have it all or nothing. We'll have something sensible. We'll come to that near the end, but I need to make a decision as to what stops we're going to have, because I can't put the pedal pipes in on the right hand side, the treble end, until such time, and I'll show you why. Earlier parts. In one of the earlier parts, I showed you me overhauling all this action. So in here, so you'd have to take 5 pedal pipes out, probably 6 pedal pipes out. And you see I've got green felt on those blocks. So when you press those combination pedals, these fans activate. They're called fans. They're steel, and they push those blocks one way or the other. So those blocks determine what stops come out with which pedal. So I need to do those at this stage. In fact, we're already too advanced with this build to set them easily. I just hope the ones towards the left I don't need to alter. So we're going to have to do a bit of fiddling around and probably taking out the other pedal pipe here to actually get to them. But I just hope that those blocks aren't glued and screwed, and that they're just screwed, because if they're glued and screwed, we're going to have to take them out and take all the centre pins out, and that's going to be an absolute pain. So that's how they're set. It's a mechanical memory, and that'll do for now.
A few days, and we've made that counterbalance, which you may be able to see on, a bit dingy, but to open that back door a bit more, might get a bit more light in. So we've got that on top of the swell box, the repurposed hand pump. I don't think it was off this organ. So it's a short trace rod going from the short end of where the support is, at the fulcrum, and onto the trace rod. So now it'll stay open on its own. So hopefully all the balance points are balanced. It feels right with the swell pedal now, but to get some kind of balance, they've got bits of beds and bits of scrap iron on the inside of the shutters, and that's not something we want. So I'll just close that a little bit. There we go. So I don't want to keep it closed fully, we'll end up with a different temperature in there. I've just had a thought about this this chest. So this 5 notes, I'll just get knelt on the floor. A leaf. These 5 notes, so you know where it was sat before, but you know what, wouldn't it be nice if there was room for it to fit there? I bet there isn't, but I bet it would be nice if there was. These are numbered 5. That's going to be, no, it's not going to go, is it? What happens if it was further back? So the biggest one went up that space. Which is the biggest one?
5, 4, 6. It's going to be that one, isn't it? It's going to be the biggest. D sharp? No, that doesn't sound right either. The biggest one should be C sharp. That's D. So we do need a big. I'm just wondering. We could have that on an angle so that, because it's on an angle where it was before, if we can fit the bigger one in, that's it, isn't it? C sharp. So if we, that pipe's not really there. Yes. Excellent. Now then, so before it was mounted here and you weren't supposed to be accessing the organ from this side, it was against the wall anyway. So that chest was there and all those pipes were in the way, and it didn't even help with the tuning of the bottom end of the swell. That would afford much more ease of getting to things like the composition action now, which we're going to have to work on. Yes, I think if that's on the floor, with it now being on electric action, it doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't change the volume because it's still behind panelling and there's still plenty of room for the sound to get out, and anyway we can change the regulation. So I think that there, those top 5 notes is the answer. And it's just because this is on an angle, it enables me to accommodate those 2 biggest one, which there isn't quite enough room. Just put the camcorder to handheld. You wouldn't be able to easily get them in without them poking out through the back. Good, well we'll get that wired in. We've got the inlet hose waiting to connect up. If you can hear me over the noise of the steam generator, there's just times when you just couldn't make it up. There's 2 jobs that need doing, which mean taking the top keyboard out. There'll be a few notes we need to take out of the bottom keyboard. Don't think it's a big job, it's all made to come away. It's only 5 minutes to take it down to this level, and to put it back up it all clips together, and there's 4 screws. Now that aside, I thought that before we close up the right hand treble side, start putting the panels in, put the rest of the board on pipes in, having done that counterbalance successfully, though it does need adjusting on the swell pedal, I thought we would set the composition pedals. So the lever to the left of the swell pedal in the middle there is the loud selection of stops on your grate, and the one where I don't know where I've got I know it's here somewhere, but the other pedal is now being replaced with a screwdriver at this point. So where you can see the turquoise screwdriver, that is the soft selection. Now on their soft selection they've got open diapason. I'll start again. On their soft selection they've got stop diapason, bass and treble, and dulciana, which was the top stop, which is now a 15. So of course we don't want the 15 to come on. The soft selection I now want to be something different. In fact, we're not going to have a soft selection. We're going to have a medium selection and a loud selection, and then you'll add manually 15th to that. It therefore gives you 4 quick stop changes. You can pull one stop out yourself, can't you? You don't need a pedal to do that. So we can have a medium selection, a louder selection, and full organ will just be adding the 15th. So that is achieved. If I move the camcorder around, I've shown this before earlier. We've just taken 2 of the things out, which I'll show you. This is something which was developed in the, believe it or not, in the 1400s. So pipe organs were one of the very first things, or the very first thing, to have a memory recall device. So it's pretty clever. So you would think that all we have to do is unscrew the block and put it in a different position. It's awkward enough. I mean, this should have happened earlier on in this build, but we don't know this. And this is the problem with organs. Until something like this happens, you've got no idea on one organ to another. When we built the Konica in the actual workshop, this is the chapel in the workshop next door, I realised that you had to do the entire pedal section first before you put the bellows in. Well, this organ, you put the entire pedal section in last. All different. So we'll just move back over. So using that handy biscuit tin full of screws as a makeshift little workbench. Oh, I can hear the steam happening. My colleague Mr. Chippy has removed the screws from the blocks. We want to take the blocks off. They're not wanted, they need to go in a different position. And you can see before they've been on the underside. No doubt when the organ had a 15th before 1920. But you know what? They've glued them, haven't they? So how can an organist say to the organ builder, when you come and tune, could you change the composition pedals? I'd like such and such to happen. You've got to strip the organ down, actually take these rods physically out and steam the glue off. I just couldn't make it up, I tell you. So I'm going to do that. 5 minutes later, and I've been able to dissolve the glue enough with the steam to remove them. But I've never seen that before. What on earth possessed them to glue those on? You know, the stop selections forever. Just when you think about more recent organs with organist adjustable pistons and things like that, this is just mind-boggling. It's bad enough when they're screwed on and the organ builder's got to adjust them and by taking half the organ apart, but good grief, when you've got to start steaming them off as well, it becomes a workshop job. Right, we'll work out what we've got to do and where we've got to fit them. That's going to be fun. I'm expecting to spend a good day doing this. Well, talk about taking a step backwards. So, 2 things to do to finish off was to get the composition pedals pulling out the right selection of stops and to adjust the pedal coupler. So the pedal coupler is this, which when you press the pedal, this beam moves and those little fingers push the back of the keys. And it's out of alignment by 1/8 of an inch or 3 millimeters. So the register that slots in is here. And to get to the screws which are underneath the keyboard, so it's that way, goes in like that. To get to the screws is very, very difficult, especially for somebody as fat as me. Gone are the days when you've got 12-year-old apprentices to make these adjustments for you. So what I'm expecting, and I don't know whether you can see, but the register I've tied up to try and keep the stickers in has got slots in the end. Tell you what, I'll move the camcorder. So if I hold the torch like that and we zoom in, you will see that at that right hand end where it's actually secured to the framework, it's slotted. So you've got lateral movement. If I move to the other side, it's slotted. And this is exactly what you expect on absolutely everything. We look at the coupler action, and these backfall beams have lateral movement that's adjustable there. So imagine my surprise when I've had to go to the trouble of dismantling. As much as I've had to dismantle, it's half a day's dismantle, it'll probably be 3 days putting it back together. To find out that this isn't slotted. So what we've done is to mill an oval out of it, so we've got the movement in both sides. So what I've got to try and do, and I'm just hoping I can, because otherwise I am going to have somebody in who can lie on the bellows and take all these. I'm not showing you the picture. And take all these pedal couplers back out, because they've got the buttons and cloths on them. Or somehow I've got to thread all 30 of them successfully through this register without breaking anything. Well, good luck. You know, this isn't how it's assembled. This is supposed to be this order is supposed to be presented, screwed to the back of the keyboard, and it goes in one unit, and then those are fed through at a much earlier stage, which is of course what we did. So I'm going to see whether in the course of today we can actually thread all those through, or whether I'm going to have to get somebody in who's about age 12 to do it. So 4 hours later, let's get the torch on this job. It's a couple of days later, but 4 hours of work. Hopefully those pedal couplers here are all going to line up. So the two stickers that are fitted to the brake to pedal, if we activate the stop, we've got bottom C, we've got bottom C sharp, and they are both working properly. So an awful lot of work, and I can't believe that register wasn't slotted, but it wasn't. So we'll carry on and start putting more of it together. What we're doing is putting the great stickers, you can see there's 5 on the left, vertical wooden rods, putting them individually as we put each key back. The swell is a doddle because it just all goes in one piece. So there we are. We'll see what it looks like in another 4 hours. Okay, so those 5 notes down there on the floor are now in and working, and I'll play them from the pedal board. There you go, all working. And you'll see we've got all the board-on pipes on the right-hand treble side, and we've got the back panel, which is the only one we've finished painting, in. So what we're going to do today, I've just been aligning the magnets on this treble side. So we've got, if it's in shot, I'll just move that across a bit, with 2 springs here, which are these returns to centre for the composition pedals. No idea where they actually went. We don't have any photos of this side of the organ. You think you've taken photos of everything, but we haven't. What we're going to do is this shelf can now be secured because we've finished the electric primary, and we're going to put some screws into that shelf that I fitted, which is pretty hefty timber for those pretty hefty springs. So that's going to get done. That'll get screwed down, and the chest will get. It's got to have the right hand conveyance glued in yet. It's just a push fit at the moment. So that's wired up. It's working, and I'll just show you that with a live wire rather than from the pedal board, and you'll see that I've got the repetition and everything just so. There you go. So there's no, we've got to finally align the magnets on this side. So I don't know how many are actually playing from the pedal board. Let's have a C. So that's C sharp, D sharp, F, G, A, B. C sharp not working, D sharp, F, G, A not working, B not working. So we just have to finish aligning the magnets on there. So what I want to do today, get those springs in, get that in, get that conveyance glued in, and we can actually put the painted panel in position there because it's done. So I'm pleased about that. So I don't know whether this is going to be the part 35 is going to be the end of this, or whether we'll have a bit of a part 36. There's something which I'm not doing yet on this organ, and will be probably revisited next year or in the future, and that's the tremulant. I don't play any organ with a tremulant, and I can't really think that it has that much use. This organ had one fitted in 1920, and it needs re-leathering. And I'm going to be frank with you, I've run out of money. I think we've spent something around £7,000 on parts on this. And this, remember, this came out as a working organ, not helped by 2,000 quid plus VAT for the 15th rank of pipes. There's a lot of leather, you know, probably £1,000 worth of leather gone into it. It's probably £500 worth of screws gone into it. You know, so it's not, these are not ever going to be free. So, oops, I've just bashed the tripod. So, I think we're going to kind of do a temporary finish on this without the tremulant. I probably need something like £250 to finish that off, and it has no, you know, for me. So it didn't come with it originally. It'll go back on eventually. So there you go. So we've been able to get, you'll see the two left-hand panels are in, especially if I take this off the tripod. See there, we've got the two left-hand panels in. We haven't got the two back ones in. I want to go around with a fine-tooth comb, shall we say, for wind leaks. Remember, we've got the wrong blower on this. This organ will not support full organ plus pedal with that blower. In fact, I'm surprised it'll even support two manuals with that blower. But there's just maybe a bit of a fighting chance that we could play pedals and some softer stops. And again, the blower for that, the blower which we want to use, is sat in that corner with a Duff motor. And you can't just change the motor because it has to be a silent motor. It's not a washing machine or industrial motor. It is a silent motor for organ building. And last time we changed a motor, it was £1,000. Now it might be repairable, but again, it's something which is going to be hundreds of pounds and not an odd fiver. Let's go over to the other side. Right hand panel in, thinking that everything behind there was finished, because it was. So if you remember, we did the swell pedal. I'm still struggling putting these pedal stickers in because none fit and everyone's having to be remade. Why is that? How can you take an organ out and put it back together and none of the pedal stickers fit? Was the floor uneven where we took it from? Probably. So if you remember, we replaced the linoleum and put that oak facing on. Well, I found out when I started actually being able to open and close the swell shutters, having done that counterbalance, that the mounting wibble wobbled all over the place. So I beefed up the mounting, and not any light there to see that, but I've put quite a 2" by 1" piece of mahogany with a 3" width of the possible mount area, and it's as solid as anything. That then meant that the swell box didn't shut, so inside behind that panel I moved a pin position so it did shut. But when I come to look at this, I never painted that edge, so I'll just have to pop that panel out. So that chest is screwed down, the 2 right hand top panels are in. So really it's getting those stickers done on the pedal board, which is a huge job. At least we'll be able to place the pedal board exactly, because we haven't screwed that down, we're not quite sure where it fits. And you can see that the pedal stickers actually aren't vertical, so it looks like it wants shifting over to the right, or shall we say the treble end. After that it's just a matter of putting those stop heads in. So at the moment we're clearing out this building so we can get the chairs in and actually get the building in use, because I can put that panel on in seconds. So at the moment, polishing the inside flap of the music desk. But here's the interesting thing, and this is what brought me to bring the camcorder out once again. This is the left hand, so the base end front side panel, and I've taken off the 2 pieces of timber which were either side of the blower handle. Now this didn't come with a blower handle when we bought it, so it's in its previous installation, but it's still got the guide rails in, which turned out to be ash, so we'll be keeping that for pedal board repairs in the future. And I've just been letting that piece of timber and carefully shaping it to fit, and we'll get that painted over. But what I wanted to show you, it says Pat Wells, and it says Pat Wells there, so whichever the apprentice was that put that guide rail in, I reckon that was his girlfriend. So when was that? 1865? Right, so we're going to bring part 35 to a close. I think the next part will be the last part 36. We're not going to do the tremulant probably for a year. So what I've been busy doing is fitting the pedal coupler stickers. So that's the rods that go down to the pedal board. So you've got the upper lot which go into the roller board, and you'll see some of those are new. Obviously there's 4 of them they're all made out of mahogany. And the ones on the lower section which have a bit of a gangster lean, because we haven't got the pedal board in necessarily the correct position, so it may move to the right ½ inch. But as I said before in this video, nothing lines up. It's like the whole of the floor is 1 inch different here. Anyway, that's how it is. So every one of those stickers is having to be remade, and it takes a lot of doing. So I was wanting to put the first 12 in before bringing this video to a close. Because I have to use the animal glue in making these up to, they're tied in at the top with the tapped wire, and that's tied in with the red linen thread, and it's called whipping, and that whipping is then coated with the animal glue to keep it from coming undone. And I can't be using things like modern adhesives, it's a big incorrect way to do it, so I just have to jolly well wait overnight for these things to dry. So that's the hold up. I was going to have 12. We'll carry on the discussion on that. So if I didn't make it clear before, the grate to pedal coupler, which is that knob, will be in there one day, and with a new insert. Grate is the bottom keyboard. It's not kind of in shot, is it? So grate's the bottom keyboard. That says grate to pedal, so bottom keyboard to pedal. So when I pull that out and press these notes which are fitted, you'll see the corresponding notes operate. That one's not in. That one's not in. That says there's 12 in. There's another one further in the centre as well in, so that they're actually 11 in out of 30. It's a lot of work. So one of these, I'll just take the camcorder off its mount. One of these goes all the way through. So can you see that one? It's actually the 12th. It goes all the way through without going through the rollerboard. So I've had to make that one from scratch. That was actually broken when we bought the organ. It had a makeshift repair and it was carpet taped together. So what I've done is to use the long bit to make one of the new stickers. So only that is new timber. Actually, I'm lying to you. The third one is new timber too. And so what we try and do is to, where we have to shorten them, you kind of put them in a different order. So, ongoing, I would have liked to have had that closed up, as I say. So, what can I say? So you've got the swell to grate coupler. So you can play the top keyboard from the bottom. That's absolutely normal. We've got grate to pedal, so you can play the bottom keyboard from your feet. All except one organ I've ever played has a swell to pedal coupler. So you can play the top keyboard from the pedal, but not on this organ. The only other one I know is at Barkston Church, 4.5 miles away. It's another organ the same make as this. It makes me wonder whether there was a cost option at the time to have it or not to have it, but to be honest, I find swell to pedal a more useful coupler than grate to pedal, but there you go. What can one say? So we've now got the music desk in. So that folds down and it also becomes the music desk. So that's another thing which we've been wanting to get done for some time. So really it's painting panels. I think we're ready to put that panel in. I think we've left that off because I wanted to be able to reach my arm round to hold the top of some of those stickers. But I don't think there's any reason. That blue bin in there is full of discarded parts that we're not going to use. And what we do is I keep them with the organ because they're part of the organ's history. Like we changed all the springs on both the sound, especially on the swell soundboard. Can't remember whether they did them both. Anyway, we changed the springs. The ones we don't want are in there. So there's the unused box of screws. There's a biscuit tin in the right-hand panel full of screws, and again, they're screws which we weren't going to use. So the hole there is for the blower start-stop switch. We've got that, but the temporary blower we've got in at the moment, which is too small. I'm not going to go to the expense and trouble of wiring it to the remote switch, so we're just switching it on from the master switch on the wall. So there you go. Pedals are now working on their own stop. Everything's on those, and I have been playing it. Action's a bit slow. There you go, it's pneumatic. It's more slow on decay than it is on attack. So you think that note's holding on, but there you go, that's how it is. I think if my time came again, we'd not do it electro-pneumatic, we'd do it direct electric with solenoids on the pull downs. The top 5 notes, which are on that small chest, are as quick as anything. That's the 1920 chest. But these 1865 chests are on the... No, they're not 1865, because they electrify... I'll start again. The chests are 1865, but the pneumatics were put in 1920. But the pneumatics are slower than they are on the 5 chest, which they put in new in 1920. There you go. Doesn't matter to me, but it might to somebody. So if somebody wanted to buy this, there'd be a cost option to change that to direct electric action. But as I said originally, when this was built in 1865, the pedal section was 25 note, so it's C to C rather than C to F, and it was all mechanical action, so it's absolutely instant and reliable. But they did away with that when they changed the pedal board in 1920 to this 30 note one. And I don't want to put it back, because if we put a 25 note pedal board on, it will fox most organists, because it's just not what they're expecting. The UK standard is 30 notes. I know the American standard is 32. I'm not sure what the other 2 notes are for, because I've never seen any music with those, but there you go. They do have 2 notes more in the United States. As you see, the keys are 56 on this organ. If this was 10 years newer, it would be 58 notes. And if it was 1914 plus, it would be 61 notes. You know, the standards changed. If it was a bit earlier, it'd be 54 notes. I think really that came in because of octave couplers, where it's going to be playing an octave above automatically from a pneumatic or an electric action, because this organ doesn't do that. It doesn't need to have those extra notes. So I think we'll wrap it up at that. I'm pleased with where we've got to. I've probably showed you the combination pedals now working. I've not got the right hand one because I just do not know where the pedal's gone. I have seen it here, and I put it somewhere safe, and well, it really doesn't matter. But if push comes to shove, they do detach. I could take one to a blacksmith's and have it replicated. There you go. So thanks for watching. It's the part 35. It's going to be out of 36 parts, because I can see it's coming to an end now, and we'll just take the camcorder just so you can have an overall view. It's got the bass end left side, got all the panels in on the treble side, not the bottom ones, because we're going to be hunting for little wind leaks on the pedal section. The heel piece goes on the back of the pedal board when we've actually screwed the pedal board to the floor. Thanks for watching.